Okay, hello everyone. So today I'm making the vest for my supernova cosplay that I did. The vest is probably the one of the three pieces that I probably won't wear again, just because it's a crushed purple velvet and I don't really have a need for a crushed purple velvet vest, but you could easily make this vest in another fabric and it would be a perfectly fine suit vest, or even if you wanted to make it in velvet and wear it in velvet, that's totally cool too. The velvet, I will say, was really annoying to wear just because it sticks to all the other fabrics, so it meant when I put the jacket over the top it kind of like stuck to it awkwardly and like made the collar roll a bit weird. So I will say that velvet probably wasn't the best idea, and in the show it actually is kind of like a satiny silk, but I preferred the look of the velvet and I just thought it kind of looked a bit nicer. Yeah, so I'm really happy with how it all turned out though. The whole look really worked in my opinion. I was really happy with it. So yeah, keep watching and I'll show you how I made it. Okay, in the front facing piece you need 2 on the fold in the velvet and then 2 on the fold in fusing as well, and we're going to apply the fusing to these pieces. And make sure you mark in this front notch and also the drill hole in this corner. You need 2 pair of the vest back strap, so just 2 with right sides together. Need 2 to make a pair of the vest lining, and don't forget to mark in the drill hole at the dart. For the vest back you need 2 on the fold, so they'll fold out to be one complete piece like this. So you need 1 in lining and 1 in satin. You can cut them both out of lining if you don't want to buy a separate piece of satin. The back strap I cut out in the satin as well, but if you're cutting the back out of lining then you can cut this one out of lining too. And don't forget to mark in the drill hole at the dart and then the 2 notches where the back strap goes. Then in the front piece cut 2 to make a pair out of the velvet, and don't forget to mark in where the button placement is, this front notch, the dart drill hole and the drill hole at this corner here. Okay, so taking the front facing pieces, all I'm going to do is place them with wrong sides facing up and then place the fusing over the top with the wrong side facing down, so the glue is facing towards the fabric. Just be careful when fusing this, because they are both synthetic fabrics. Use a light temperature to begin with and slowly increase it. The glue will need a reasonably hot temperature to melt onto the fabric, but just gradually get to that temperature and don't push it any further than it needs to go. You don't want to end up burning your fabric. Also, keep note that velvet does stretch, so you don't want it stretching or pulling when you're applying the fusing. Okay, so that is all fused now. What I'm going to do is on the wrong side of all the pieces make sure I've marked in all the drill holes, notches, everything like that. Okay, so I'm going to take the front pieces and they should look like this on the wrong side, and all I'm going to do is mark in stitching along here, so just along these corners. So I'm just going to be 1 centimeter away from the edge, go to this point, pivot and then stitch up this curve slightly. So I'm going to do that on the main front as well as on the fused facing. Also on the main front piece I'm going to pull together the darts and stitch them, so it's just 1 centimeter away from this cut edge, and then once we get up to this point just straight to the drill hole marked. So I'm going to do that on both pieces. Okay, I'm also going to grab the vest front lining with the wrong sides facing up, so it should look like that with the drill holes marked. And just the same as with the main body of the front, I'm going to sew up the darts. Okay, now grabbing just the back lining piece, I'm going to sew the darts on this as well. So again, the cut edge is 1 centimeter seam, and then once it gets to this, it just goes straight up to the drill hole mark. Okay, so the back lining will look like this. I'm just going to press this so all of the seams face towards the side seam. The front lining will look like this. I'm going to press it so the seams face towards the side seam as well. The front piece will look like this with the stitching in the top, and again I'm just going to press this facing towards the side seam. The fused facing will look like that with the stitching in it as well. Now before we can sew the darts on the back outer piece, we need to stitch together the strap. So with the strap, all you have to do is place the right sides together and then stitch down both edges 1 centimeter and then turn it inside out. So now this is turned right side round. I'll grab the D-rings, okay, and I'll putting these over the edge. I'll measure about how long I want the piece to be, keeping in mind that 1 centimeter will be stitched under. So I think that's probably a good length, just about 4 centimeters. So it will be 8 centimeters total. And I'll just pin that together. Now in the back piece, what we want is where the notches are, that's where this will sit, and then this piece on the other side, it's just going to create a tie at the back. And with this other raw edge, all I'm going to do is just fold it over and then hand stitch it down to have a neat finish on the edge. So what I'll do is pin these in place and then folding it over, pin the darts and sew the darts up on the machine. So that is what the back piece should look like. I've pressed it all flat with the seams to the side so that it creates a nice flat look. So now what I'm going to do is stitch the side seams and the shoulder of the main body and the lining. So with the main back, I'm going to take the front, place it over the top with the right sides together, just like so. And so you'll notice this looks a little bit short up here. It's not. When you stitch up until this point that we marked before, that will be the exact point that it needs to pivot to then attach to the back, but we'll do that later. So all you need to do is stitch from this edge up to that marked point, and that's all. And then the side seams should match up just fine, and the same on the other side. So with the right side facing up, so for here all we can pin at the moment is the side seams. Okay, so once the side seams are done, I'm going to fold this out so the right side is facing up, and then taking the front facing piece, going to place it with the right side facing down and match up this curve. Okay, so once that's all pinned, we can then stitch it. After you stitch it, you can then attach the two shoulders just like we did with the main fabric. So I'll pin that and just attach that off camera, but basically once you sew that, it should be pretty clear where to place that and that it's the exact same step as the other one. So I'm just going to attach this to the other side as well and then sew it all up. So now both of these pieces are sewn, so the seams are both sewn up, and it should look kind of like this on the right side. What we're going to do is folding it back with the wrong side up. We're going to grab these two pieces of the collar and fold them over each other, just match up the edges there. We're going to stitch that with 1 centimeter seam, and then the lining should be looking pretty well the same to the front, so all sewn up. And we're going to do the exact same thing, matching up these two pieces and sew 1 centimeter down that seam. Okay, so the collars will look kind of like that on both that piece and on this piece. So now where we stitched that little triangle before, we're going to snip into that corner on both the pieces. Once it's snipped into, it will be easier to move into place. So all we want to do is pivot it around those points so that it is sitting flat against the back, and it should match up this seam nicely. Also, I'm going to make sure this is just pressed flat. I'm probably not going to go to the iron to press it because I should just be able to do it by machine, but when we do eventually press the whole garment, make sure that is pressed open. So just like that, stitching all around there, and I'll do that on the lining piece as well. And after I stitch that, I'm going to go around and press all of these seams, the side seam, shoulder seam, everything, so that it is pressed flat. So it's pressed open like that, just for a neat finish. Okay, so that's what it will look like all sewn up on the inside and in the main body too. So now what we're going to do is lay this with right side facing up, place this with right side facing down, and match all around the edge of the collar. So making sure they match the center back all the way around to the front. So I'm just going to stitch all around there. So turning it inside out from stitching it, it should look something like this. Now what I'm going to do is edge stitch the seam. So there's a little notch on the inside where the buttons finish. So from that notch down to the end, I'm going to stitch on this side, so on the lining side of the fabric, and from that notch up and around to the other notch, I'm going to stitch on the body side. That's because from that side it will fold over this way, and this side it folds this way. So from there down on the lining side, there around on the main fabric side, and there down on the lining side again. So just to edge stitch it to make sure it stays in place, and then I'll go over it again and press it just to further reinforce all of those seams. Also, just to reinforce everything, what I'm going to do is open it up, grabbing the back neck. I'm just going to match up and stitch along the back here. I'm not going to stitch all the way along the neck, just probably a good, 15-20 centimeters along. That's just when it sits open, it doesn't move around. So when it's not attached like now, it can move around and bubble over, whereas when it's attached, it's stuck in its place. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so that's all stitched down and everything is pressed and everything. Now what I'm going to do is stitch the armholes shut. So just like we did with the jacket, we need to make sure we keep everything kind of like facing the way it needs to be, because if you just turn it straight inside out and put right sides together and stitch, you won't be able to turn it back around. So what I'm going to do is just grab these two corners like I would want them to be sewn, by grabbing up inside of the garment and then pulling it out like so, and just making sure I match up the shoulders. And as you can see, that creates a really tight curve in here. So what we need to do is stitch all the way around from the top here, so down and then around again. And I always advise, if you're turning something fully inside out, pin it and then turn it through to double check that it's all going to turn through okay. The last thing you want to do is sew something thinking it will be able to turn through and then it's not able to turn through, because that's just a disaster. So I'm going to do this on both armholes. Okay, so that is all stitched up. What I'm also going to do is along the armhole just snip in the curve. This will just make it easier to turn inside out and make it look a little bit nicer when it's turned inside out as well. Okay, so then turning it inside out, or right side round I should say, it will look like that. And just go over and press the armholes so that they're sitting nice and flat and neat. Next thing I'm going to do is work on the front bit of the hem. I'm going to sew this up as much as I can, and then the rest I'll do by coming in through the side seam. If you're just how to make the jacket, you'll know that because it's a fully turned out garment, you need to do some hand stitching. So I'm going to do the front bit of the hem by machine. The back bit of the hem you can either then do by hand or do what I'm going to do, which is open up the side seam, come in, sew it, and then close the side seam by hand. The reason I do that is I just feel like it creates a neater look, but that's really up to you. So for the bottom hem, at the center front, I'm just going to turn it over. I'm just going to pin it right up to the back dart. So all on this bottom edge with the right sides together to the back dart, and that's where I'm going to finish. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, so now that's all stitched, I'm just going to snip the corners so that it will turn through neatly. Okay, and then I'll pull it through the hole we left. And don't forget to push out the corners either with a finger or with some closed scissors. So just like that, and I'll go through and press this once we sew the rest of it. And when you're pressing it, just make sure that none of the lining is showing through, so everything sits with the main fabric only showing through. So now that's all turned through, what I'm going to do is just going to open up this side seam a bit. Don't open it too much because you're going to have to hand stitch it again, just enough so that you can reach in there and pull this part through. This is why I prefer to do this. This is already pressed, so it's already got a mark where the 1 centimeter is. So when you go in and stitch this by hand to close it, you know where to stitch it. It's already all marked in and it's a lot easier. Whereas if you were to just straight away stitch this hem, it's hard when you're sewing it from the outside to gauge whether you're 1 centimeter in and whether you've got the stitch straight or not, whereas it's easier on the inside to see that. So pulling it back through, just going to straighten it out and stitch the rest of that back closed. Okay, so that's all stitched. I'll just pull it back through and hand stitch this shut, and then go and press this all flat, and then all we need to do is add the buttons. So when hand stitching this, it's just a simple slip stitch. Like I said, you can just follow where the stitching was before, and it should match up nicely. Now to put in the buttonhole. Okay, so there are 5 buttons, and to get the exact buttonhole measurement, my machine comes with this little thing where you can put the button in here and change the width. So that just means it's going to create the exact correct width for the button. Now for where to mark in the buttons, I'm going to grab this piece, the front piece, and just place it, remembering that the seam allowance is now gone. So just placing it like so. And then I'm going to mark in the holes. I'm going to mark these in by stitching them, just because this is velvet, it doesn't quite show up with the chalk, and the chalk can move around quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is just make sure I lay this flat, make sure the underpiece is also flat, because obviously this needs to be stitched through both sides. Laying that nice and flat. This over the top. And I'll pin this into place as well, just to make it a little bit easier. And then all I'm going to do, I haven't knotted the thread or anything, I'm literally just going to do a little bit of thread so I know where it's marked. Just like that. I'm making sure I'm going right through to the other side as well. So I'm just going to line the machine up with these marks to do the buttonhole, and just make sure I clear any of the threads of the machine before I start sewing, just so we don't end up with white threads in the machine, in the buttonhole I mean. Okay, so all the buttonholes have been placed. I'm now just going to snip them open, and then what I'm going to do is, by lining these up over each other, I'm
mark in where the buttons need to go and stitch those in.
Okay, so that was the vest. Like I said, I really am happy with how this all turned out, but I do wish I didn't make it in velvet because it's so annoying to wear. I'm really happy with it though, and it was a bit of fun to kind of dress up. It was the first time I've ever gone in like a costume. So yeah, it was quite fun, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have learned how to make it. The pattern will be up on my shop in individual pieces, so you can buy just the jacket, just the vest, or just the pants, but also as a bundle if you want as well. Please subscribe, like the video, check out my social media as well, because I'm trying to post on there to let you know when I'm putting up new videos, when new patterns are released on the shop. So yeah, thanks for watching, bye!